All right, I'm going to put the screensaver back up for anybody who just popped in late. Just to see what's going on here. These two folks, great friends of mine. One I've known for Janine on the left, I've known for more than 20 years. We worked together in Haiti. She hosts us when I bring groups down from our parish to have a kind of immersion experience with our fellow parishioners in the small town in Haiti at Kosambi. The current pastor, has been a pastor for 3 years, Per Elius. I'm a great friend of his, but I've never met him, due to COVID. And then now the civil unrest in Haiti, it's been awful. I haven't met him yet. So we're flying him up. They're heading from the north of Haiti, all the way across to Port-au-Prince today, which will be the most dangerous part of the journey for them. So I'd ask you to pray that they are safe and get here well. And Port-au-Prince especially is a kind of shooting gallery right now, gang warfare, American automatic weapons, about 1,000 people killed since the first of the year, and about 700 people kidnapped. 700 kidnappings. I mean, you might remember the one that had the 13 people, I think it was from Ohio. And luckily, they all got free. But it's the Wild West there, and so hopefully I'll hear from her tonight that she's made it there and in a hotel, and then they'll actually fly out tomorrow. Ron and I will be picking them up about midnight at the airport in Louisville, and then we'll have till next Monday to do events and planning for the next 5 years, things like that. Will be a celebration for these guys. So anyway, there they are. And that woman on the left has literally saved my life more than one time down in Haiti. Yeah, I'm going to tell you about one of those times. All right, well, let's get back on the screen. Yeah, Haiti literally has changed my life. I'm looking at my altar over here, and I have my grandmother and Merton and the Dalai Lama and Cynthia Bourgeot and Pemak, 5 of my principal teachers. But then I got 2 pictures of 2 people from the village, a Haitian boy and a Haitian girl, because Haiti has really changed me. My years of working down there and mostly being down there with the Haitians changed me a lot. One of the things, and this will be the theme that we're looking into today, is light and darkness. Sometimes people think they're opposites or sometimes even enemies. Unfortunately, that first line of the Gospel or the line in the prologue of the Gospel of John, where he says, there's a light in the darkness and the darkness has not overcome it. It has actually been used so wrongly over the years to value the light over the dark, and actually, to actually use to actually hurt people. So if I were going to rewrite it, I would say there's a light in the darkness, and the darkness cannot overcome it. There's a darkness in the light, and the light cannot overcome it. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't use an overcome word. I'd probably talk about them as dance partners. They're integrated, just like 2 dancers like Fred and Ginger. They're an integrated part of the whole journey. And we undervalue the dark things that happen to us. And that's we're going to talk about it. I'll see you again after today on the Saturday for our intensive. I hope you'll sign up for that, because we're really going to explore this a lot more, the sense of being able to work uh, with the darkness and the light together. There's a lot of work to do with the darkness, and you can't push it away. You just can't do the journey without it. And so we're going to really explore it a lot more. But I've got a couple of poems today that, and notice that notice the way the light and the darkness go in and out both of them. The first one, it's a very short one. It's the first line of the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic. I studied the Aramaic for about 2 years, just trying to render into English that I understood, that made sense to me, the 8 lines that we call the Lord's Prayer or the Our Father, and then the eight Beatitudes out of Matthew. It took me about almost 2 years of practice with those, and it was worth it. Well, so every day I wake up before Pam or anybody else around here, and so my morning's spent in silence, reading. And when I come to this place where I'm sitting right now, I light the candle and I start my 30-minute meditation. I start by reciting in English the first line of the Lord's Prayer, and goes like this: "Oh, beloved one, your oceanic womb births infinite blessing in waves of darkness and light. Beloved one, your oceanic womb births infinite blessing in waves of darkness and light." Those are the first words I say every morning out loud when I'm here by myself. And I'm recognizing that we're in a cosmos of infinite blessing, waves of darkness and light, both. We don't often see the darkness as a blessing, but really, it's a must on if you want to have a wholehearted journey in your life, spiritual journey, human journey. Waves of darkness and light. Now, this the second poem, I've been working on it since 2014. I worked on it some because I'm going to read a poem. We're having a dinner for a little small dinner, 25, 30 people for the parish to welcome Janine and Elias. And I'm going to introduce it. And I wanted to read at least one poem from Haiti. And so when I just searched my heart, this one came up. And so I've been working on it still. I started it the events described happened in 2014 on a trip that I brought some parishioners on. And it was the dry season. This was a time when I was going down to Haiti twice a year because things were so troubled in our parish. Our parish pastor wasn't very good, so I had to go down twice a year. And so we were there in October, which is sort of the dry season, but you can never quite put your finger on what's going to happen in Haiti. And so this poem starts in a torrential downpour where we were trying to get back. We're driving and it was getting dark, and we were coming from Cape Haitian, and we were trying to get home back to Kool Samdi. And that trip, you have to cross 7 rivers, not by bridge, just in a truck. And mostly they're sort of low and it's not any problem, but it had been raining for our whole trip. So when we got back to the last river to cross, it was quite full, quite swollen. And this picks up, this poem picks up at this point. And this is actually at one time, only one time, where Janine saved my life. So this is called Darkness So Full of Grace. Sliding our way back to a Kool Samdi in the darkness, in the driving rain, on the road from Cape Haitian, plowing our way through swollen river after river, until at last one swallowed the hood of our truck and the headlights disappeared for a split second. and I felt the truck beginning to slide downriver. Janine slammed the truck into four-wheel drive, and one of the four wheels caught some rock, and the lights were there again, and we roared out of the dark river into the mud gumbo that they call a road. Our Belgian Mona Lisa smiled ever so slightly. The next day, I was drinking black coffee and rum before dawn on Janine's porch and scribbling in my travel journal as the rain continued to fall on all the saints and sinners and pilgrims who live and wander for whatever reason in the darkness so full of grace that's called IAT. Yeah. Interesting moment. I can remember that moment, and when I felt the truck lose its grip and start going downstream. And there was the pastor at that time, Bill Hammer, and a husband and wife, me and Janine in the car, and it was just a moment. It's like a split second, and I was thinking, "Whoa, this is it." But we were talking about it coming back, how a whole bus got taken away one time, and all the people in it. So it just slipped for a minute, and Janine, she always drives with driving gloves because these roads are rough. They're not really roads, and so just I was thinking, it was like that kind of a moment, and then she just slammed it into fourth gear. She'd been saving fourth, into four-wheel drive, slammed into four-wheel drive. We were still slipping, that caught some rock, and we roared out. First, I saw the headlights, the hood showed up, and then the headlights, and then we were out. And then the rest of the time, it was like driving in snow. Because it's just so muddy. There's no gravel, nothing. It's just a mountain roads, and so we were driving in snow. But she just looked over at me with just the faintest smile, as if she'd been through this before. But I'd never been through that before. That wasn't the only time. She literally saved my life. But there's a play of darkness and light in this poem, and that sometimes in your darkest moments, in moments of extreme fear, we don't, we so easily we put down experiences of fear or despair or grief. These are the three principal, what we call dark emotions. That, especially, European colonial folks, most of us white, we see light as good and dark as bad, but it's really not so. It's really not so. We have to sort of progress through that. Otherwise, we can't work with our own darkness. See, there's a terrific amount of wisdom in fear. There's a terrific amount of wisdom in despair and grief. That really covers the Enneagram, if you guys know the Enneagram. Those three things go with the core points. Wisdom with the 6, despair with the 3, and grief with the 9. Goes with the neighborhoods. That's a holy trinity of dark emotions. And then there's all kinds of variations of those three things, you see, like offspring of those three basic dark emotions. And if you only believe in the light and you think the light's the thing you want. I mean, everybody wants to be enlightened, right? Yeah, but it's tricky. Yeah, you're leaving out most of the wounds and the darkness of your life up to this point. That all has to be held, you see, and it has to be gone through. That's where you get the wisdom of loss, grief. That's where you get the wisdom of the loss of hope, despair, and that's where you get the wisdom of the loss of courage, which is fear. Fear freezes you for a minute. I've totally frozen that moment. I don't know who else changed their underwear of the trip of our team, but I tell you, this was one of those kinds of moments. And Janine just did what you need to do in that moment. She's been doing it for almost 30 years now. There. Interesting thing about if you want to look at life as terms of yin and yang, when Janine graduated as a religious educator from college in Belgium, they're very wise. They said, you have to go to some other country now, broaden your experience. That's part of the graduation experience. You had to go to some, okay, Belgium's a tiny little, European country. And so they wanted you to have a bigger view, you see, just like I want you to have a bigger view. I've gotten a bigger view, a lot of it by going to Haiti, of how life is both terrible and beautiful at the same time. And if you only want the beauty and not the terror, you don't have the complete picture. And if some people only have the terror and they don't have the beauty. Life, this world is beautiful and it is terrible. And we live in it, you see. So we want to be able to deal with the whole picture. Now, I'm going to give you I'm just going to read recite this one from heart. It's actually the last, if you have the Cave of the Heart book, it's the last poem in the middle section, which is about the Pilgrim Road, what it's like to be a pilgrim. And it's called Cor Unum, which in Latin means one heart. One heart that holds both. If you're going to be wholehearted, your heart has to hold both darkness and light, you see. Otherwise, it's a half-hearted enterprise. You'll be missing not only big chunks of your life, but you'll also be missing things with wisdom in it. Again, we're gonna go deeper into this next Saturday, and I hope you make the intensive. We'll actually go deeper into the wisdom of fear. Some of you have been afraid all your life. We all have, really, but some of you, fear has dominated your life for most of your life. And it's tough, but there's the attempt to push it away or whatever. Well, no, there's some wisdom there. There's wisdom in despair too. There's wisdom in grief. If you don't go through it though, all you get is the terror, not the wisdom, you see. So this poem called Cor Unum, if you just listen to it, you'll hear the play of darkness and light. It goes like this. If you can consent to practice with cheerful perseverance, and if you can stay committed to simply dropping your ego mind with all its darkness and light down through the body, down into the cave of the heart. You can do that. Then one fine morning, with no hint of warning, the beloved will simply appear at your back door, and then you'll be eternally one heart, shining like the sun. It's an if-then thing. If you can consent to practice with cheerful perseverance, even that phrase, which it took me a long time to come up with that phrase is a bit of a bittersweet, light and dark phrase, because the cheerful seems light and perseverance is sort of day in, day out, showing up kind of thing. So cheerful perseverance is really, to me, the attitude to have for the path. You have to be of good cheer, because you know that many people have walked this path, and many people have walked it all the way. They're no different from you, and you can do it. Okay. And then I said, and if you can have that attitude, you can consent to have that attitude. And then if you are committed to do a very simple practice, the practice of dropping your ego mind, which includes both your childhood operating system and your strategic eye. If you can drop your ego mind with all its darkness and light, There's plenty of light in the ego mind. Reason. Some people haven't even got to the reasonable stage yet. Many of them are in government. But to drop the ego mind in with all its darkness and light down through the body. Now, the body is dark to the mind, you understand. So down through the body, down into the cave of the heart. And the image of a cave brings up darkness too. By the way, you should watch 13 Lives, the latest Ron Howard film. It's about these underwater cave guys that saved those 13 soccer guys in the cave in Thailand. They went in there and then it flooded. It's an amazing film. He's an amazing, it's unbelievable that Opie could turn into a director like this. And he is great. It's 13 Lives. Put it on your list. Again, watch it. But the image of a cave, and you'll see most of the filming is in the darkness and underwater in the cave, a lot of it. When they first came up with where these kids were and their coach were there, it was totally dark. And then they saw these guys and a few flashlights came on. They were in there for almost 2 weeks before they could help the kids and the coach. It's a gripping film, well done. But the cave is an image of darkness on one hand, but it's also an image of refuge. And when you have a fire in a cave, which early prehistoric people did, then let the whole thing go. So, but you're going into the darkness, notice, and then one fine morning, if you could go into the darkness, drop in the mind with all its darkness and light, into the darkness of the body, and then all the way into the darkness of the cave of the heart. Then one fine morning, with no hint of warning, the beloved will simply appear at your back door. And as a matter of fact, there's no hint of warning, and notice the beloved shows up at the back door. So you got back door, front door, light and dark. It's a surprise. And then you'll be eternally one heart. So, I mean, it's the image of what's the one heart just means integrated, all the darkness, all the light together, and that will shine. That's what we're talking about. So when we, in a minute, when we stop and then we just switch over to meditation mode in the silence, most of us are shutting our eyes. So we're going into the darkness. We're shutting our eyes to the outside stuff, sense experiences. We're shutting our eyes also to our thoughts, our goals, our view of life, our image. We just shut down all that and we leave it aside. And we're going into the cave of the heart. Okay. And out of that, those of you who've been here even one time know that out of this second dive into the cave, into the darkness, in our third session, there comes a terrific amount of light. And even when you drop into it, you could notice you notice things, these little sparks of inspiration that you wouldn't notice listening to a talk, even a good talk, or watching TV. So we're going to go into the darkness. Okay. So I think that's enough for now. And do try to make it to next Saturday, the 20th, and then we're really going to explore this in a lot more detail. All right. I think that's good.